All right, we're learning to multiply matrices today. So what are we talking about? If you take a look at a matrix, you have to be able to, first of all, tell whether or not it will multiply with the other matrices. They don't all get along. Okay? Some can go together, some can't. Do you know you can mate a lion to a tiger? You know what it makes? A liger. Yep. Did you know that you cannot mate a lion to a dolphin? I know it just doesn't seem possible, but you just can't. It'd be a lulfin, and that's just too bad of a name, so it's not allowed. But there are some matrices that can work with multiplying with others, and some that can't. So take a look at this matrix right here, number one, and let's see if these two can multiply. Well, we got to know what they are first. Remember how it's rows and then columns? So this one's got one row and three columns, 1 by 3. Everybody write that underneath it, like I did. Then, matrix B. How many rows? Remember that's this way. 3 by what? 2. Okay, now, if the inside ones match, then those can multiply with each other. Okay? And if they can multiply together with each other, they are going to create an answer that is this by this. All right, so the 3's matching on the inside tells me that these can get along, these can work, these can multiply together. And the ones that are on the outside, that tells me what size of a matrix I'm going to have. It's a 1 by 2. 1 what by 2 what? 1 row by 2 what? 2 columns. So it's going to look something like that. And so therefore it's going to have 2 empty spots. Do you get that? Do you get where I got those? I know you don't understand it completely yet, but do you get that I just made a 1 by 2 matrix? Okay. Now, how do we actually multiply these things? Would you agree that this spot right here is in row 1? You hear that? Okay. And this spot right next to it, that's for the column. What column is it in? Column 1. Do you get that? It's row 1, column 1. All right, how about this other spot here? It's still, one of the two is the same, but the other one's different. Is it row 2, column 1, or is it row 1, column 2? Yep, row 1, column 2. Okay, everybody make what I just made. It's important for you to get how what you're doing is you're making a map of what the answers are going to have to fit into. And when you've got this, you've got like a treasure map that you can follow to do the multiplication. So it's telling me what to do to get this spot right here. It's telling me to take row 1 and multiply it by what? Column 1. Would you agree that this right here is row 1? And I'm going to multiply it by column 1. Now, would you agree that the 1 looks like it would kind of go with the 2? They're both the first element. This will go with this. How about this 4 going with this 5? Does that make sense to you? And lastly, the 6 and the 7 will go together. Does that make sense to you? All right, so we're just matching up logical ones. Then remember, the whole point of this is multiplication, so we better do a multiply at some point. So we're going to do 1 times the 2. And the answer to this whole thing is going to go in this little box right there. 1 times the 2. Now, we can't just keep multiplying everything, or these numbers would be gigantic. So this is the part where we say plus. Take a guess what I'm going to say next. 4 times 5 plus Come on. 6 times 7. Now we actually have to figure out all that. 1 times 2 is 2. 4 times 5 is 20. 2 plus 20 plus 6 times 7 is 42. Grand total it up. What do you get? 64. 64 is the first element of your new matrix. It came from a whole row times a whole column. Now, do you get, I haven't used the 3, the 8, and the 9 yet? These are unused at this point. Well, I'm going to use them in a second. Because now I'm going to do row 1, column 2. All right, so now my job is to do row 1, column 2. You know this is row 1, this is column 2. Would you see if you can try it yourself without me and see what you think the second number is? The first number is 64. What's the second number? Don't say it. Figure it out, and I'll tell you if you're right or not. Go ahead and billboard it to me when you think you got it. Okay, well, I had most people getting it right, but I had about a third of the people I checked were not getting it right. Let me show you. 1 times 3 is 3, plus 4 times 8, 32, plus 6 times 9, 54. Add them all up, 50, 60, 70, 80, 86 plus 3, 89. Get how that's 89? All right, so your answer to this matrix problem is, I did a lot of, it takes a lot of messy work to get it, but it's 64 and 89. So the final answer goes like this. Now, ideally, you actually leave your work in there because you know how teachers, math teachers especially, kind of obsessed with you showing your work. So you leave all the messy work right in here. And then you just have a nice clean answer right over there. 6489. Okay. Now there's like a multi-step process here. Is the first step something you remember? How did we tell whether we could even make this work? So let's try number 2. How do I start number 2? Okay, so rows and columns, what does it got? 3 by 2, right? And 2 by 2. And then you look at the inside ones. Do they match? And therefore it'll work. And what kind of answers will I get? The outside 2 tell me that. A 3 by 2. Now you got to make a little 3 by 2. 3 rows and 2 columns. Do you have to put circles? No, but you need to know what you're looking for. Then we got to label those spots. You want a tip for faster labeling? You don't want to think through each one too long because it takes a long time. Would you agree? These are both in row 1, so you just label R1, R1. And then go down and label all the row 2s. Row 2, row 2. Row 3, row 3. And then, all of these here are column 1, column 1, column 1, column 1, column 2, column 2, column 2. Now, why do I need that? Because that tells me which ones go together. Now, if you get good at this, I'll admit this is not the fastest way, but this way works. It's always going to work for you, and you won't get lost. But if you get good at this, you can start just going, oh, row 1, column 1. So you'll be able to just really quick in your head go, let me see if I can find my highlighter here. I can't, so I will just use a different color than usual. Row 1, column 1. Oh, I just did it wrong. Row 1, column 1. And so people that are really good at this can just go with 2 fingers, and you can't see this on the video, but you can just go like this. That, and then that, and then that. Anyway, so it'll go a lot faster once you're good at this. So for right now, row 1, column 1 is, 9 with the 1, 3 with the 6, 9 times 1 is 9, 3 times 6 is 18, 18 plus 9 makes 27. So 27 goes right here. Did we just happen there? Okay. Mr. B, tell me what to do with the next one. Okay. You want to go to this one? Okay, row 2, column 1. And what would you get? What plus what? 30, I think. So total of? I think it's 32. Good. All right, keep going. Try to answer the whole thing. That'd be totally fine if you wanted to make an answer matrix over here that's cleaner than your kind of your directions. So I go 27, 32. So you're multiplying matrices in your head. Okay, I'm going to call on different people for different numbers. This one right here, Miss R in the front row. Can you tell me this one? 51. Okay, can anybody verify that number? Okay, good. I will go to Miss Z in the blue, this top number here. 57. Can anybody verify that number? Okay, good. We're going to go to the front row. Miss K, give me one of the numbers. 43. Can anybody verify the 43? All right, good. Mr. S in the back. 68. Can anybody verify the 68? Okay, good. All right. So I think you got the idea. This is it. Now, could they make it harder? Yeah, they can throw in variables, but it's still gonna be the same basic process. Okay. So in other words, instead of a 6 in the matrix, what if they made that a B? Well, and how would that affect things? Like, for instance, when you were doing row 1, column 1, you would have said 9 times 1 is 9, and 3 times B is 3B. So you'd say 3B plus 9. You get what I'm saying? You just do the exact same process, it's just that you're stuck with this B in the answer. Okay, so this would have been 9 times 1 is 9, 3 times the B would have been 3B, 3B plus 9 is what I'd put here. And so your answers can have a variable in them if they throw a variable into the matrix. Okay, let's talk about this one. Let me just give you one example where I don't tell you a word. See if you can do it without my help. I'll pause for a second while you give it a try. And if you think you have it, turn it my way and I'll tell you yes or no. Okay, so quick for the people at home. This spot, now would I actually label it every single time? Nope. Because I eventually start thinking, well, that spot right there, what is it? It's row 1, column 1. And instead of writing row 1, column 1, I would go, where is row 1 and column 1? And I would put them together. And 5 times the 1 makes 5. 6 times the 3, guys, zip it. 6 times the 3 makes 18. 18 and 5 makes 23. That's why that's a 23. Okay, and I'll finish it off. It ends up being 34 there and 51 there. And just for the last one, I'll just show a multiplication again. This spot right here is row 2, column 2. Row 2, column 2. So the 7 and the 2 go together, makes 14. 8 times 4, 32. 32 plus the 14 goes right there. And that ends up being 46. Am I screwing up? It's supposed to be a 31. It's just written funny. I'll double check and make sure I've got this right. 23, 31, 34, 46. Now, if you're going to read off the 4 numbers, I know there's a lot of ways you could do it, but technically you read them this way. That's first, that's second, that's third, that's fourth. If you're going to read them in order. I'm only saying that because That's the way the calculator is going to do it. You are going to learn how to use a calculator when we get to the hardcore stuff, starting tomorrow, actually, a little bit tomorrow. And then the next day is the really harder stuff. So, all right. So today, it's just more of the same, except now they might look weirder. Like, that one doesn't look like it's going to work. How can I know for sure? I write down what it is. Would you agree that that is a row 3, 2? Very good. It's not. All right. What is it? 2, 1, or 2 times 1. Is that right? Okay. Now look at the other one. What's the other one? 2 by 2. Will it work? No. Instant done. Because if these don't work, you say no solution. Or you could go like this. Okay? Because you can't do this. They will not match up. Sure, could you make up something? Yeah, but you'd just be playing with your numbers. It's not going to actually be a real answer. All right. This one. Check example 3. See if it works. If it does work, answer it. I'll pause for a second while you try this one. Okay. 2 by 3 and 3 by 1 matches up. The answer is a 2 by 1 matrix. Okay, so if it's 2 by 1, 2 rows, 1 column. So wherever they cross those little boxes I have, I need 2 elements in my matrix like that. Okay, now what I would probably do is I'm going to have one that's kind of messy, and then I'd have one that I would keep clean for my actual answer. So I'm going to move this over just a little bit to give me room to make my clean one. But there's my messy one. And this is row 1, column 1. This is row 2, column 1. So if this is row 1 and column 1, 4, and then that makes 4. 5 times 0 makes 0. 7 times 9, 9 times 7, 63. 63 plus 4 makes 67. Raise your hand if you had 67 there. Okay, awesome. And then the other one, row 2, column 1. Row 2, column 1. 4 times 2 makes 8. 0, 72, 72 and 8. 67, 80. Raise your hand if you had that right. Okay, good. You've learned to multiply matrices. That could be on the ACT test, and you probably wouldn't have had a clue before. And some of you might say, well, why do you just use the calculator? If you knew how to use it, that'd be cool, but they could also do this like we're going to do on the test. We're going to throw in a letter so that kids can't just use the calculator to multiply them. So for instance, if we had put in a letter like, hopefully we've got one, there we go, number 6. Everybody go to number 6. And I want you to do just one of these so you can tell, like one example problem, like do problem 6. If you can handle this with one letter in it, that'll be important to know because that's how we're going to test you. Otherwise, they would become super simple because you just type them all in the calculator. So, you should have said, this is row 1, column 1, so you should have said row 1, column 1. Those go together. 2a times 1 is 2a. Then you add 6 and 3 is 18. 2a plus 18. Raise your hand if you had that right. Okay, good. Row 2, column 1 is going to be 4a and 24. 4a plus 24. And then I'll change colors. This and this will make 7, and 24 makes 31. And then the last is this and this, which will make 14 and 32, 46. Raise your hand if you had the same thing as I did. Okay, awesome. Do you have any questions? All right, so that was multiplying matrices. And your homework is about multiplying matrices. Just pretty straightforward, a whole bunch of multiplying matrices problems. I'll look at that with you and see if we can toss any out, but that's all I have for the video for